And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. So let's see, get rid of that. So I'll go into Illustrator real quick. Excuse all the pictures of auto parts. Okay, so here we are in Illustrator, and I kind of showed this to everybody in the video, but I'll just show you again. I kind of want to do like a compare and contrast as well. So the thing about InDesign, if I go back into InDesign, you have layout here, and you can create these margins and columns here. So you go to margins and columns, and then you can create columns, and basically you can create your columns here in a gutter. And then when you have your text boxes, I'll show you this by creating a new page. So let's see.
Joe?
Yes.
Is this for next assignment?
No, this is just to explain how InDesign and Illustrator are very similar.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Since you're there, Joe, can you show us how to do the go back and forth from pica to inches?
Oh, yeah, that's pretty easy. So this is universal as well. So this applies to Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign. If I hit Command or Control R, that brings up my ruler. And if I want to change the units, I can right-click on the ruler and I can change my units. So see, I can go from, right now it's at pixels, I can go from pixels to inches, or inches to picas.
What is ruler?
The ruler is up here. So you have your ruler. So it's you have an origin point in the upper left-hand corner. That's 0.
Did you right-click or left-click on this one?
You right-click.
Okay.
So you want to bring up your ruler, you can hit Control R or Command R.
Mm-hmm.
You can also go into View and go to Show and Hide Ruler. It's right here.
Oh, okay.
InDesign has some other features with the ruler. If you right-click, you can add a ruler per page, and you can also add a ruler on the spine, which means if I had a spread, like 2 pages, it would add a ruler in the middle. So the InDesign ruler has a couple other features, but basically you just need a ruler. Ruler per spread should be fine.
And if you do inches like for 1, it will change everything on the setting for inches.
No, actually. Well,
like when you're working on columns or
like if you look up here, I changed. Well, here's one thing that's interesting. If I change one of my rulers to inches, like the horizontal ruler, my vertical ruler is actually still set to pixels. So you have to change them both.
I see.
And now the measurements are all in inches throughout the control bar on top. So if you don't change them both, you could have all of your horizontal measurements set to inches and all of your vertical measurements set to something else, depending on what the rulers are set at. But that's the quickest way. You just click on the ruler and you change that. And that's how you do it. So if you want to change your measurements. The one thing I was talking about though is InDesign and Illustrator, the similarities. So the big thing about InDesign, it's a multi-page application. Not only that, you can have multiple versions of a document at different sizes. So it's really meant for long form documents, magazines, books. And it's also meant for creating something that would be considered like an ad campaign, where maybe I have a business card, letterhead, a flyer, a poster, multiple things that all share a similar design. So if I go into my pages here, what you can do is you can right click and you can create these alternate layouts. So I have one layout here, but I can create an alternate layout. And that alternate layout can be, you know, different page size. Let's say I wanted to create like a smaller business card based on this layout. So I could go in here and create like a 3-inch by 2.5 inch business card. 3 inches here, 2.5 inches here. Hit OK. Now I have this alternate layout that's down here. That's actually not the size of a business card. I can edit the page size as well by going down here and clicking on custom and changing that. So really, I probably want to do 4 inches by 2.5 inches. Okay, that's a little bit better for a business card. And then what you can do is you can grab your page elements and resize them. So here I have my text box, and I'm hitting E to transform, make that smaller. Hit A to change the size of the box. So the type goes across. Here I probably want to change my margins as well, which is something else you can do. There's my image, kind of small. So I just hit A and I grab the bottom of that box, make it larger. You know, maybe I crop it like that. And you hit W to give you your preview mode. So this is like a thing you can do in InDesign where you can have multiple sizes and compare the two sizes as well in your, with your different spreads going across. You can split your windows by clicking on the little downward triangle here for one of the documents. Here I'm going to unsplit it, and here I'm going to split it again. So you can have this cross comparison to see different elements in some sort of campaign you're developing if you want to have multiple items in that campaign. One thing about this business card I just made, see how it's kind of jaggedy? That's because it's giving me a low resolution preview. So if I go into view, I can go into display performance and click on high quality. Now it looks better. So that's what InDesign does. It lets you create multiple pages in multiple variations in a design. Illustrator doesn't have a multiple page function, but it has artboards. So in Illustrator, if I wanted to do a multi-page doc, I would just create multiple artboards. And the artboard tool is down here. You click on that, and you can actually just hit Alt or Option and Shift Drag and create multiple artboards in Illustrator. So in a way, you can have multiple pages. Yeah, Rena?
I didn't see it because you have so many things open, so I don't see where you get them sometimes.
Oh, let me close some of these. It's just in the toolbar that I'm clicking. So
Okay.
yeah, let me make it a little bit clearer, and I'll undo. So you can have multiple artboards in Illustrator, which is similar to having multiple pages in InDesign. So if I just click on the artboard tool down here, or Shift O, and I can Option, click, and drag. And know it would be helpful if I turn on my, oops, I didn't want to turn that on, my keyboard shortcuts here. Sorry, I didn't want to bring up this. This was an accident. So you can see my keyboard shortcuts down below there. Oops. Right. Okay. So yeah, it's Option or Alt, Shift, drag, and I'm just dragging to create these new pages. So in YouTube, I hit T here, T, and I just drag into a column, and that creates a text box. In Illustrator, you can do the same thing. But here, I don't have any columns set up. You know, I don't have a margin, I don't have columns. But you can create margins and columns in Illustrator too. Now here, I'm gonna create a ruler by hitting Control R, and then I'll right click on that ruler and I'll click on the ruler here for select inches. And then I'll drag out guides for my margin. So here I'm dragging the ruler out, and you can kind of snap it to where it belongs. So that's at 0.25, basically a quarter of an inch. Drag another one there. Drag another ruler there. Drag one below. And sometimes I like to zoom in too. That's not exactly where I want it. What you can do is you can kind of like eyeball based on this dx and dy you see here. So dy is the amount that you're moving upwards. So if we go to keep on moving up and just looking at that. Let's see. So getting right to 0.25 right there. And I think it's off actually. And one thing you can do too is you can, in Illustrator, let me make this bigger. Go to View and make sure you have snapping turned on. So that's good. So I'm going to just drag this up again to right here. That's at 0.1. That's at 0.25 now. So I got margins. So I'm dragging my rulers out to create my margins. And then what I can do is create my columns by doing this this workaround. So the workaround to create columns in Illustrator is to drag out a rectangle. Make sure it's snapping to your guide. So, and sorry that box is in the way. So let me do it one more time. So dragging out a rectangle, snapping to my guides, not on top. So one more time. Okay, so I have this rectangle. I'm going to make sure the stroke is set to black. And I'm also going to go and go into window here, and I got I had this other program opening up in the background, which is kind of annoying. Let me close this. Okay, so I'm going to go to window and bring out my control bar and then increase that stroke size. And then I can, one thing I can do too to see that rectangle, because the guides are kind of hiding it because it's right on top of it. If you hit Control semicolon, you can toggle your guides, and now I can see that rectangle. Make it a little bit thicker. Okay, so now I can see it. So what I can do with this rectangle is I can split it into 3 columns using this, what's called split into grid. And you find that under Object, Path, and then you go into Split into Grid. And here I can designate columns and rows. So sometimes you want an actual grid. Sometimes I like to create layouts based on an actual grid type structure. So you could say 6 columns, 6 rows, look at that preview and create something like this. So have this nice grid structure if you want. But here I'm just going to add columns. So I'm going to put 0 in the rows and have 3 columns. And then you can have your gutter down here in the gutter section. So give that a gutter of 25 inches as well. And the one thing you can also do is add guides. And you'll add these additional guides, which are kind of different than the guides I pulled out from the ruler. The guides that it's adding are basically additional lines being added. And the thing is, I could accidentally select these and move them if I'm not careful. So what you want to do with these guides that are created through this process is lock them down. And you can do that by going into object and click on lock and lock selection. So now they're locked, so I can't mistakenly grab them. The other thing about these rectangles though that I created is I don't want to have that stroke anymore, and I just want to use these to act as columns for my type. So I can go back up here now and create a stroke of none, no stroke with this the red slash. Go into my area type tool and just click in there and it adds my type. If I scale up the type, what happens is I get this little box down here with a plus sign. So this is where Illustrator is similar to InDesign. If I use my selection tool and click on that box, it basically gives me another text box. And if I click on the next column, you have to kind of grab that column and click. It will link these two together. And actually, let me just do that again real quick. So I'm going to go back, lock my guides. Use the area type tool. Click on that box, make it bigger. Click on the little plus sign, and I get the icon that is similar to the InDesign icon. It's like a little page. And click into that next column. And then do the same with the last one. So this is linking my text boxes together the same way I would link text boxes together in InDesign. So this is where Illustrator and InDesign are very similar. So I just wanted to show you that because that was a question that somebody had. So if you don't have InDesign, you can still do everything that we're doing in InDesign in Illustrator. And that's kind of what I'm trying to show you in that example. So any questions about that? So the next thing I want to talk about is this idea of a call to action. So as part of the assignment, I was saying I want some sort of like call to action. And the idea is a call to action is just like a simple you could call it a burst. Sometimes they're called bursts. And I'll create a new document in Illustrator. Show you what I'm talking about. And I think I have one in my library too. Here's one right here. I'm going to drag it from my library to Illustrator. So something like this. This is a little burst. Maybe it's also like a phone number, you know, for more information type call to actions. So I wanted you to come up with something that was something like this. Maybe have a little bit more style to it. So you can create your different types of bursts. You know, you can create your star type burst by using the star tool. And here I'm dragging out that star tool and hitting my upper arrow key. And then you can hit Control to kind of control the depth of the points. So, you know, something like this could be a call to action, and then having some text in there. You know, something like that. Or you can maybe here I'm going to use like a wavy path, maybe. And I'm going to option drag to create duplicate. Create another duplicate, kind of move it over a little bit. And then use my type on path tool. Kind of repositioning it. Just different designs that you can come up with. To add to the layout in InDesign. So that's kind of what I'm talking about with the bursts, the call to actions. It's just to add these little, something simple. It doesn't have to be a intricate design. You could sketch it out first if you want to, and then trace over that in Illustrator, bring it into Illustrator, and you know, just come up with different ideas for something simple. So I just wanted to show you, you know, that was a question. So what is a call to action? So very simple. Sometimes they're like, you can have like maybe it's like a flag type design. So here, it's just coming up with different shapes. Here I'll use the reflect tool under rotate. So it's even and on both sides, and then I'll take those two halves and join them. Maybe take that and join that as well. Hit plus in the middle, add another point, drag that in. Oops, I didn't want to add text to it. You know, just variations and different designs to explore. So that's kind of what I mean by a call to action. It's not necessarily a logo. It's just like a little bit of information on the page to create more interest. So any questions about that? About what I mean by call to action? So pretty, you know, just little something to add. You can create something more interesting too if you want to. You know, it's up to you what you want to create for that. Just gonna make this bigger. So so back to InDesign, kind of want to go over a couple interesting things we can do. I want to go over the Eyedropper tool in more detail. So I think when I was talking about InDesign last time, I showed you this first eyedropper here that has these three little boxes. And what that actually is for creating color themes. If you click down, you have the actual original eyedropper that's in there as well. So for this example, let me go to something that has a design on it. So I just want to talk about the eyedropper tool in InDesign because it works a little bit differently than other eyedropper tools. So if you click on it, it's the eyedropper itself is kind of facing the point of the eyedropper is facing downward and to the left. And if you click on something like anything actually, so if I click on the artwork, maybe a little bit of blue behind this mechanic as she is looking over the car, it will capture that. And actually what it's capturing is the gradient. So I'm going to click on this blue over here. So I see I have blue in my color swatch. And what happens when you click, the eyedropper changes direction, and now it's like half filled, like the tip of it's black. So what that basically means is if I select something and just click, it's going to add that to whatever I selected. So again, I'll click on something else. Now, when it has the little black at the tip, meaning that the eyedropper is full and it's facing downward and to the right, if you want to go back and actually use it in a selection mode again, you have to hit Alt. So Alt switches it back. So Alt is a toggle. On the Mac, it should be Option is the toggle. So you can toggle between selecting and dropping. And that's what that is doing. The other thing you can do with it is if you get close to anything that has text in it, a little T appears. And if you select the text and let go, it will change the color of your text. And I'll do it down here. So the words fix anything, colors changed. That's kind of the nice thing about it is you don't have to go back into your swatches down here, your little color chips, to change the fill or stroke. If you just click on color, it's automatically going to, with the eyedropper tool, and you drag over something, like I'll try to find a different color. Hit Alt to select. It has this salmon type color, find some text, and I just drag over something, it changes that color just like that. So that's a really kind of nice feature of the eyedropper tool in InDesign. The other type of eyedropper is this color theme eyedropper. And what that does is a little different. It basically will get all the colors in the document and create a color theme based on all the colors it sees. So this is the color theme it came up with for this document. If you click on the little selection area here with the little greater than symbol, it gives you alternate color themes that you could explore. And then if you want to add these to your swatches, you click on this symbol here, and I'll open up my swatches so you can see this. So go to color, swatches. If I click on the grid symbol, it adds it as a color theme. And if I click on this next one, what this one does, it adds it to my library. So if I have a library that's open, so these libraries will actually carry over from each application in the Creative Cloud. But if I click on this one, it just added, let's see, if I look up, it added that color theme right here into the Creative Cloud library. And then it will carry over into your other Creative Cloud applications. And this kind of plays into the whole Adobe color theme tool as well. So if you go into My Themes, and if I go into that library here, which is called My Library, that's just the name of it, My Library. So if I find My Library, let's see where it's at, right here. The colors show up right here. And so these color themes can carry over from your different applications. And then you can edit the theme here, and it opens up your color theme editor. Or what you can do is you can click on these little three dots. You can add it to your swatches, which is what I already did. Or you can view it online as well on the Adobe color website. So this goes to this Adobe, well, actually it goes to your library for the Creative Cloud. So you can like look at them here. So you can see them here as well. And you can download these as this .ase file and open them up in other applications. But if it's in the library, it's going to be shared for all your applications. For instance, if I go into Illustrator and I go into Window, which is being covered up by this, I don't know why it says initializing here, but if I go into Window and I go into Color Themes, under My Themes, you'll find it. So it's right there. And you'll also find it under libraries down below. So right here is my library, and if I go into my library, the color themes are there, and it will carry over into Photoshop too. So I can now grab grab that artwork and apply, you know, these different color themes. So that's what that tool actually does in InDesign. It's going to grab the colors for everything. And you can click these individual chips, and when you do, that eyedropper switches over to the fill mode, and then you can start to apply the color themes. To what you're working on. So that's, I just wanted to show you the how that worked, color theme eyedropper, which is a little different, but it's basically based on the image. One of the things you can do, which is kind of fun, is color grade stills from a movie, let's say. So what I was doing was going into Amazon Prime and capturing like a frame of a movie, something, you know, like a frame from Star Wars or something. So for example, I grabbed the frame of here is a frame from the movie, and this is from Napoleon Dynamite. So basically it was watching a movie on Amazon Prime. I use my snipping tool to grab a frame from that movie. And now you can take this, copy it, go into a new InDesign, a new InDesign document, and I will make it 1920 by 1080. Paste that frame in there, and then go into my color theme tool, and basically is grabbing the colors from Napoleon Dynamite. So sometimes you'll see, I think there's an Instagram account that takes frames from films and creates color swatches from a film. So basically it's taking, you know, creating a color theme from a popular movie. Like different movies have different moods and different colors associated with them. So that's what you can do with that, that tool as well, with the color theme tool. So it's kind of a fun thing to do. So if you're bored, use your snipping tool, or on a Mac, hit Command Shift 4 and grab a still frame, and then bring it into InDesign and create a color theme based on a movie that.
So you're coloring not words, you're coloring shape.
So one more thing I wanted to show you is kind of like this more obscure tool, and it's called the Content Collector tool in InDesign. So this is kind of like a rare tool. So what it does is it will collect content on a page and then let you reapply that content somewhere else. And for this exercise, I want to have more columns set up. I'm going to add some text columns here. So I'm going to go into layout, go into margins and columns, and maybe have 5 columns in this layout. I'm going to add one column is going to be a header. So I'm going to create a header here. I'm going to change the font. I keep on going back to Bungee. For some reason, I like that font. So I have my font here. Maybe I will change color there. I'm going to add this color theme to my swatches. I'll add a couple text columns. I'm going to fill it with this placeholder text. So if I go to type, I'll just fill it with placeholder text. Make that type bigger. Just having it fit in the column a little bit better. Click the plus sign and drag another text box. And then I'm going to add some images to this. So I'm going to go into this library here. I have a bunch of images already set. I'm just going to select, I'm control clicking. And I have a bunch of images selected here, and they're highlighted. And if I drag them over into the document, you see that there's a little plus sign. And once I release my left mouse key, you can see there's a number there. It says there's a number 6. And so it means I have 6 images here. And now I can basically just left click and drag and place these images into the document. So this is another nice feature about InDesign, is the fact that I can have multiple images and just kind of drag and add them as I go along. And I think I want to fix this one. It's a little crooked. I'm going to do that one again. If you undo, the image that you added last will reappear. So now I have all these things added to this document. Now I can go into this content collector tool. If I click on that, I get this bar that opens up. And basically what it's wanting me to do is select on different elements. So hit Art School. So now that Art School title appears down below. My text box appears down below. And each of these images can appear down below as well. So what's kind of nice about this is if you're exploring multiple designs, then you can grab all this stuff and reuse them pretty quickly. So now I'm going to go into my pages. Where is it here? It's hiding. So I'm going to go into pages here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an alternate layout. So if I have this spread here, I can click on alternate layout and pick a different size. I'll just pick 600 by 800. This is based on well, it says Google Pixel, so it must be the size for a Google Pixel phone, let's say. It's a preset that's in there. But anyways, so 800 by 600, I have this alternate layout. And I'm going to actually go back in here and get rid of everything that's here and go back into my content tool. And then you have 2 icons. The one on the left is the collector. The one on the right is the placer. So if I go to the one on the right, I can start placing things. And these icons here represent how I'm placing items. The first one basically means every time I click, it's going to add that. So I'm adding that text box. And then it goes to the next one. I'm adding this text box. And then I'm going to this image. And the next image. And the next image. So here's not really sticking to the layout, but I'm just showing you how this works. If I undo, and I go back to this place tool, this next one basically lets me place multiple images, but they keep them in this conveyor so I can do it again. So now if I go to this one, adds that, and it doesn't go to the next item. So I kind of click on this little next playhead to go to the next item. And the last one, oops, I went too far back. And if I click on this one, it will go to the next item and basically shift it to the end instead of deleting it. So it's back at the end of the conveyor belt, you could say. There's another kind of cool feature in this though, and that is, I'm gonna go to the conveyor belt tool, and I'm going to go into the first little icon here to select. And also I'm going to, let's see. And I'm just gonna grab select everything. And when I do that, you see that number 9 appears over what I selected in the conveyor belt. And then I can drag this down. And if I, let's see. And if I go into the content placer, when I drag this down, and let's see. And then I hit shift and drag, it's letting me select that whole layout of everything that I selected. So it's kind of an interesting tool. So it kind of lets you take a whole layout and recreate that layout. But you have to let me go back. I'll just do it again. So I'll do this again. Let me position this. So if I grab everything, has that number on it, here I'll just create another page. And then if I just drag this down, oops, didn't do it. And then shift and drag is basically duplicating the layout, the whole layout. So it's a kind of a weird tool. It's not used that often, but it can be nice if you have lots of images and you need to change the arrangement of images quickly. That's kind of where that tool comes in handy. So I just wanted to talk about these additional little tools that are kind of unique for InDesign. The last thing I want to talk about is this idea in InDesign called liquid layout. So if you go into layout here, there's this liquid layout option, and it brings up this window here, and it works with this this page tool. So what you could do is you have these options. And if I click, let's say object-based, and then I say down here, what's the constraint? So I want to decide where I want to pin things. So pinning basically tells you how things are going to adjust. So I can pin something to the top and to the left. And I can then basically with the page tool, drag one of these edges and it will basically proportionally adjust my layout. So if I drag down like this, it will adjust, and you have to hit Alt, and Alt is basically what makes it permanent. So if I drag out and I don't hit Alt, it doesn't do anything, but if I drag out and hit Alt, it makes that adjustment permanent. So it's kind of a cool little feature where it will automatically adjust your page based on these different parameters. So I can say scale, and it scales everything down. If you say recenter, it just keeps everything in the center. Object, you use all these different constraints. Guide base, basically if I had guides, it would respect the guide. So nothing changed in that circumstance. So that's another interesting feature too, is this liquid layout feature. So, so yeah, those are the things I kind of wanted to go over, just these additional features in InDesign, how to use the eyedroppers, the content placer, which is kind of unique, and liquid layout. So if you guys have any questions, so just trying to give you more information on InDesign and some of the things you can do using InDesign. So is there any other questions then about the project and questions you have about what you're working on now for this page layout? Does anybody have any additional questions about the assignment? I actually extended the deadline. So it's not due on Thursday. I extended it to next week, just to give everybody time to catch up if you need to catch up on other assignments. So yeah, so it's not due on the 30th. You got an additional week. And yeah, so that's that's all I'm going to talk about tonight. Didn't have really much more to talk about. After we work on that page layout, I want you to, the next assignment is going to focus on more of an integrated type campaign where I want you to have a theme. So we'll talk about branding, coming up with a brand concept, and then working on what I would call like an integrated campaign where you have a letterhead, a business card, and a poster, and using liquid layout and some of these other page layout tools to create 3 alternate versions of one design. So I want you to remember how to use these tools, and we'll go over them again on Thursday for that next assignment. So it's called the integrated campaign. And I may even get into a little bit of animation. If you're going to do an integrated campaign, it's not necessarily going to be print-based. It might also focus on social media. So in addition to creating like a business card, maybe you have a social post that's reflecting what the campaign is all about. So that's something that we can think about for next Thursday. So any other questions or thoughts or complaints, opinions, anything you guys want to add tonight? No? Yes? No? Everybody's very quiet.
Are you gonna discuss mine
So,
on? Are you gonna discuss mine, Joe? Hello?
let's see here.
Hello, hello.
So, so yeah, plus I've gone through, I've graded mostly everybody's assignments. If you have late assignments, I haven't penalized you at all. So basically, you know, whatever grade you see is probably your grade, and everybody's doing fine so far. So nobody is doing horrible. Even if you haven't turned something in, it's fine. Just make sure you just work on the assignments, get them handed into me, and then what we'll do on Thursday too. I think a couple more people are trying to finish their restaurant logos. So I went through all the restaurant logos. There's some really nice ideas in there. And I think we kind of went over most of them, but we'll try to go over, if you haven't handed in something and you haven't had me critique it, we'll just have like a critique on those assignments that still need to be handed in. So other than that, I don't really have much more to add tonight. Is there anything else you guys want me to talk about in InDesign?
Hey, Joe.
So any InDesign questions? Can you guys say something to me? Because I can't even, everybody's so quiet. So, so no questions. All right. Well, I guess I'm gonna, oh wait, are you talking to me?
Hey, Professor,
Hold on.
can you hear me?
You can try talking now.
Hey, Joe.
Let me unmute you guys.
Hey, Joe.
Can you hear me,
Are
Professor?
you guys? Looks like Charles, you're talking, but I can't hear you. Let me see something.
Options and machines. Let's take a brief look at.
My speakers are working. Let me see if it's something in Zoom. Can you guys try talking now?
Hello.
Somebody say something. Randa?
Can you hear
Charles?
me?
Yeah. Can you hear us? No?
Can you hear us?
I still
Can anybody
can't
else hear me?
Charlie, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, I can hear you.
I think he cannot hear us. I've been trying to get his attention.
Now I can hear you.
Now you can.
It was a weird setting. Yeah, it's weird. It was just a weird setting in Zoom.
Yeah, I tried to interrupt you a couple of times, so I could tell you couldn't hear us.
Oh, I felt really lonely. Nobody wanted to talk to me tonight. Is there any other questions about anything?
Did you want to discuss my assignment? Remember, I asked you and you said we'll discuss it here.
Sure. Can you show me?
I mean, we can do it private if you want. I don't mind.
What was the issue you were having?
I brought the drawing from Illustrator back to InDesign after I put the header, the subheader, and the call for attention. And and it went over the older one. It stuck over there. I did send you a picture. If you want, I can send you another.
Oh,
It's in
okay.
Discord.
Did you look in your layers? Did you see if you had one layer on top of the other?
It wasn't like different layers. It was like stuck over.
When you open up your layers, you can see everything that you have, and then click on the one that's stuck over.
Uh-huh.
And then what you can do is you could copy it or cut it, do a Command X, and then create a new layer and paste it in that new layer.
Okay, I'll try that.
So let's say I had like the title here, Art School, and I had two titles on top of each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to select one behind the other, but it's hard to because now they're on top of each other.
Mm-hmm.
I would just select one, and then I'd hit Control X, it copies it, and then I would create a new layer, and I would hit Control F and paste it in that new layer. Oops. Actually,
Control X and Control F, you said?
actually in InDesign, you can hit Shift Control Option V, and that means paste in place. But I'm pasting it in this new layer. So see how it has red?
Mm-hmm.
It reflects the fact that this layer here has a little red stripe. So that layer has that red stripe around it. So it's on that red layer. And the one that has the blue is on the blue layer. So I can click that on and off like that to see the different layers. But if you have something that's stacked, just copy it, paste it into a new layer, basically.
Okay.
So if you want, I can share control and you can kind of show me, but that's what's happening.
I'll try it, and if not, I'll ask you for maybe a Zoom time.
So, okay, yeah, just, you just have to go through your document. In InDesign, it works like Illustrator, where you open up these layers and you see all the sub-layers. You can call all these sub-layers.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of click on a little box, and that acts like the dot in the layers palette in Illustrator, where this little square is letting you select things directly. So that's how you can kind of find something that's on top of something else, select it, and then move it.
Move it as like drag it down? Is that what you're saying, move it?
You can move it, or you can, what I usually do is Control or Command X, copies it, and create a new layer. Sometimes I have to lock down the other layers too. I go into that new layer and I hit Shift Control Alt or Shift Control Option V, and it pastes it into that new layer.
Shift Control Option and D, like David?
V is always paste. V.
V. Oh,
Here,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, V.
All these different, you got paste, Control V, paste without formatting. It basically pastes the text, but not any formatting on the text. Paste into will put something into a box.
Yeah.
Place it in the same position.
Yeah, so do I use the, because I think I use paste in place. Maybe that's why I use paste in place.
You want to use paste in place. So if I hit Control X, it cuts it out, and then Shift Control, in your case, Option V, paste it in the same exact position. So I think you have just two things on top of each other, Randa, and you just have to go into your layers, open up your layers, see where the two things are, cut one out, and paste it into a new layer.
Okay, I have another problem. That every time I bring a pixel, it's not pixeled right. I mean, it's what do you call it? Pixeled?
Pixelated?
Huh?
It's pixelated. It's low resolution.
Pixelated. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah. So what InDesign does, it takes your images, even if they're like high res images that are huge images, and it gives you a low res version of the image. So what you can do is you can go into to view, go to
Mhm.
display, and turn on high quality.
View, display, and high quality.
Yes.
This,
See how everything improved? Now I can zoom in and I got nice quality.
uh-huh.
View,
S-
display, and high quality.
display performance. So I choose the picture and then I go, after I move it into the InDesign, I go to view, display performance, high quality. It will fix the pixelated.
Yes. Yeah. So basically what InDesign does, it gives you a low resolution preview.
Uh-huh.
If you want to see what it looks like when it's at its high resolution, just click on high quality display.
Okay. Perfect.
Yep, that's all you need to do. That's just a feature of InDesign. Doesn't mean that the image is bad.
So if I already put all the stuff on it, would it still work, or like I have to start?
No, it's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Perfect.
Okay. Any other questions about anything? So, all right. I mean, so I'm just going to give you guys more time to work on this assignment, catch up on old assignments. You know, tonight's class was just more about some of these additional features in InDesign, and that's really all I'm going to talk about. So, if everybody else is good, have a good night. You know, if you guys have questions, you know, ask me anytime you want. And that's all I have to say for tonight. So that's it. So I'm going to say bye and turn off the recording. So
Thank you.
yep, you're welcome. Everybody have a good night, and I will talk to you on Thursday.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Okay, alrighty, bye-bye.